Well, I wanted just to start with a declaration. It's for sure that nowadays SDGs and Agenda 2030 are the global theme of discussion all around the world. And so I think that the work that is doing in this group is absolutely very, very important. Very important because it's touching objectives that are going through all the other issues of all the other scientific committees, is touching all the main aspects that we are facing now with the pandemic. And I have been starting many, many years ago, first in the CV, then in the ICTC, a kind of work that has been coming from many previous activities, professional activities, and so on, about the relevance and the need to change and to mitigate the wild urbanization that has been going on till a few months ago. I hope so. Then after, I hope it's going down. So the discussion is this: world population is rising also with a lower maybe trend. Instead, urban population, here it is, urban population is growing more and more with a trend that was rising exponentially. So, and all the forecasts, the United Nations, Habitat, and like that, they were saying for sure people should be living in the cities 70%, 80% from here to a few years, 2050. And mega cities are increasing terrible. In the last 20 years, we passed from 15 to 35, 40 megacities, cities of over 10 million people. Someone are arriving almost to 40 million people. China is expecting to do joining some megacities to make one megacity of 70 million people and things like that. And go on. You can change this slide. Okay. So this is what I was saying, but still 30% of people is still living in smaller cities and in smaller villages. Go on. Change slide. Okay. Yes. Important is to see that in these huge cities and more bigger they become, the bigger they are, the quota of people living in slums is enormous. Is rising, considered minimum 25, 28%. Someone is telling is arriving up to 35, 40. So we're talking about 1 billion half people living in an inhuman situation. And is no serious, go on. This is an example just from India. In India, we see that what is happening in the slums. This is what the pandemic has been showing. The situation in the slum, under the sanitary point of view, is terrible. The example of India, in the slums, 56% of the inhabitants were getting infected by the pandemic. Meanwhile, outside of the slums, there were only 16%. So this is just one example. The pandemic has been showing all the weaknesses and all the defects we knew of the slums. We have no energy, no services, no sewage, no sanitation, overcrowding, and like that. So I think is the moment that we start reflecting deeply, and I think this forum is a good forum to see why in the Sustainable Development Goals we don't consider to review one moment the model of settlement of the humanity. Cities are representing only the 2% of the surface of the earth. They represent 20% of the pollution. Go on. Change. So I think this urbanization must be reviewed. These things is based on theories that are old. We started 20 years ago. I had the luck of participating in Rio in 1992. So it's more, 28 years ago. And everyone was saying, you're crazy. What are you talking about climate and this and that in general, about all of us. Today, after 30 years, climate has become the first issue. I think the next word is review the settlement of humanity. Urbanization should be reviewed, should be one of the mottos of the next generation. And now we can do it. Instead of those enormous cities and overcrowding, over slums, we have the abandon of all the rural and all the smaller towns that are fundamental for the preservation of the natural heritage, for the cultural heritage, for the climate change, because they are influencing very much on the climate change, on agriculture and all that. So the idea, go on, please, change, yes. So the idea is to reevaluate completely the smaller cities, the towns, and also the other settlements. I think that after the pandemic is already a growing demand of urban citizens to leave the big cities and to go to settle and live in smaller towns. We should favor this trend, this movement, and we should provide to the territories and to the smaller towns the same standards or comparable standards than in the big cities. Go on. So I think it's necessary a completely new vision. It is ongoing since 20 years about the social quality approach that is involving the environment, is involving the social quality and social problems of the citizens, is involving urbanization, is involving everything. So it's a completely new way of thinking what we should do. So is an ongoing process that we were writing things forecast for 20 years from now. But suddenly all this now has become absolutely urgent. So maybe it's an opportunity to take from the pandemic to go on faster on this. So I think it's over. Yes. So I think what I'm saying, let's go on, including in all the, also in SDGs number 11, in the papers we're writing like CV committees and the other committees, the relevance of review somehow the urbanization process. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much. Excuse me for the technicalities that was not working. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, Paolo. So this has been a long-standing project, and you have written about its outcomes in this article.
Yes, I have been. The last article is urbanization post-COVID that has been published now a few days ago by Bedhan's Books, but they pretend to be paid to download. But I think I have to study the way, because it seems that I can, among fellows and partners, I can share it. So probably I can take a draft version, I have it, and share with you, okay? And it is chapters devoted exactly to heritage, chapters devoted to climate change, chapters devoted to pandemic effects, and so on. I would say it's a working paper, because now I'm working on another one, going over that to fill this next month of containment again. Okay.
It's really valuable to have such a kind of bites of knowledge sharing, and may I propose that we have this as a standing new item in the meetings going forward?
Yeah, I believe it's a good idea, because these kinds of things would allow us to really think about ways. As
I was reading in the final webinar you want to do about social quality and social problems, into that can go something like that, reviewing under the point maybe not of physical urbanization, but about the reaching we can highlight how many of the SDGs are involved from healthcare to social qualities to cohesion to I think there are already 5 or 6 objectives that are completely involved into this type of process. Okay.
let's add it to the candidates. We are struggling sometimes, right, Gabe, about kind of identifying the speakers now, because there are so many good ones to choose from, and then we have the issue of representation, like global, north, south, gender, age, and things like that. You are at a disadvantage, I'm sorry to say, Paolo, as an older white European man. No, but that's not the real reason for. I mean, this could be a valuable contribution, but let's consider. But I think we need to we can't commit to anybody yet. We have to go through the whole kind of material.
I can pass the material to someone emerging or something like that, younger, and he can discuss. It's not a personal thing. It's just a fact of carrying out the.
Sure. I mean, if it's not the webinar, we should develop a new channel of sharing and evaluating these kinds of contributions.
Well, at the moment, I've been doing it in our CV committee already. It was last year, just before Marrakesh. Then in the 6 IC scientific committees, I did it. We have been discussing like that also with Fergus for the tourism-related facts like that. So something is going on. The idea is to find a way where to channel, okay? And I think the SDGs working group is an interesting forum where to carry it on, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.